We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it going. We know that we are as well. Crazy enough, absolutely massive show in store for you here tonight. Brian Polian is out, who will be replacing him as the special teams coordinator. We will talk about that tonight. Some names that you may start hearing over the next couple days. We'll focus on one here tonight, and it's from a team that's not too far away, and a guy that knows Brian Kelly actually pretty well. Nabors Incident today. We'll discuss on this briefly. I'll give my thoughts on it, some things that I've heard. Other than that, we're going to let due process. What I am going to say is, and a lot like the Brandon Miller incident out at the University of Alabama, I still urge people to allow due process to play out. Guys, this is still a misdemeanor charge that he was charged with on Monday night. So let due process play out, but I'll give you the details of that as well. LSU baseball beats Southern 18-4. Start off a little sluggish. Thatcher Hurd kind of got banged around in the top of the third, gave up 4 straight singles. Christian Little comes in and absolutely dominates as he gets the win for the LSU Tigers. And after Christian Little comes in, the bats absolutely erupted as Trey Morgan, your first baseman, hit for the cycle in order, which is the first time. So I asked Mikey Mytook today on Twitter. We had a little dialogue, former LSU great center fielder, great outfielder. If he was the last person to hit for the cycle, and it appears that he was, I think like 2010 or 2011, something like that. So Trey Morgan hitting for the cycle in order. That's absolutely massive. The home run he hit there at the end was massive. And it was interesting enough to see as well Trey Morgan at the end of the game coming in and playing left field, something that I didn't know that Jay would do. He was actually, if you saw, the only starter that stayed in the game for the full length of the game, all 7 innings, as he went to first base out to left field to end it out. But the Tigers run rule Southern 18-4. Look, man, Southern was really scrappy today. I got to give them credit. They came out and touched up Thatcher Hurd. A lot of the same things that Matt Trent from WBRZ said on the show here last night. Or no. Today's Tuesday. So Sunday night that Thatcher Hurd had been touched up the last time that he went against LSU in a scrimmage. A lot of that same things was just inconsistent, but still had a lot of Ks. Had 2 in the first, had 1 in the second, and then couldn't get out in the third. So went 2 full innings for Thatcher Hurd before that Christian Little debut. We'll go around your SEC. Consequently enough, the Brandon Miller update. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to speculate on something that I don't know, but we'll touch about it. And I'll probably go on my rant about midweek games on how they, you don't want to lose them, but don't freak out if you do this early in the season as you look around college baseball, especially around the SEC, as a lot of teams are getting touched up today by mid-major programs. Vanderbilt was down, I think, to Central Arkansas. I don't know the final, but it looks like Mississippi State. Mississippi State was getting touched up by ULM. I'm trying to get that final score. Looks like it was 11-4, maybe a final. So look, they lost a midweek game, so it is what it is. And then to really just all throughout the show, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can get to all of them as quickly as, or just, I'm trying to get this scored. I'm flustered. Let me reset. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, hit it inside the chat, inside the Rudy Crew chat, hashtag Ask Blake, and we'll get to as many of them as we can throughout the show. Pooh Bear says Southern is selected to win the SWAC. They are always on top of HBCU programs every year. Yeah, and Grambling almost took down Arkansas today as well. Ryan says, I said it on Tigers Avenue's chat on Friday, which is Tebow Haired Zach's podcast, said that he thought that Trey would hit for a cycle in the first half of the season. Well, look at you. Look at you. Robert Plaisant says, do you think he plays if this weekend, if Tanks can't field and just hit and put Jones at first? I don't know that. I will be open. I just don't know that. Pooh Bear asked a question inside the chat that y'all can chime in on. Hashtag ask the fans, with the special team coordinator position open, which of you Twitter coaches will fill the position? Who wants the position? Arthur Coco on YouTube says Pete Limbo at South Carolina. Look, I just don't know if he's going to leave the situation that he has at South Carolina. I mean, he's considered one of the best, if not the best, special teams guy in America. He's been at Memphis. He's been at Rice. He's been at Maryland. He's been at Ball State. He's been at Elon. This is his first time at South Carolina in the SEC. I just don't know. I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You look at special teams coaches and you look, he's one of the best, and I get it. At the same time, I don't think that he is the guy that LSU is potentially going after. I could be wrong there, but it looks like Marty Biagi is a guy, the Ole Miss special teams coordinator. We'll talk about a little bit here tonight and what it means that Brian Polian is out and that you got to get somebody new into LSU for the special teams. All right, Pooh, let's do this. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. So many of you listen to us live on Facebook. Stop, collaborate, and listen live on this Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday. Hit the like and share. Share to all of those Facebook groups. Share to all of your social media pages as well. We appreciate you doing that. If you're listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell. We're getting so close to 5,000 subscribers. We're still trying to give away the $200. Got to go to the Ruffino and Joe Show, subscribe. Also go to, or if you're listening to us on YouTube, just do it now if you haven't done so already, and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. If you listen to us on podcast, Sirius XM, TuneIn Radio, wherever you listen to it, like, review, and subscribe as well. All right, let's get to our first break. Let's talk about our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and BetOnline.ag. We return in 1 minute. Who's going to replace Brian Polian, and what is his role now? BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events, with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992, 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right, everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Stop what you're doing. Get to your phones. Hit the like and share. Don't be a Rudy Poo. All right. Rob Boudreaux says Brian Polian needs to be, or BP needs to be be security for our guys so they don't need guns. We'll touch on that in a minute. Brandon Reese says, I'm just glad that Brian Polian is still with the program. I do agree with that to some extent. To some extent, I agree with that. He also says, dang, Mississippi State lost to ULM. That they did. And if I'm not mistaken, Vandy was losing to Central Arkansas. I might be wrong there. And for a long time, score update, Central Arkansas 5, Vandy 1. There you go. And for a little while there, Florida, who had a very strong opening weekend, was trailing 1-0, but they rallied late. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that final score. As college baseball's here, man. If you know this show, you know me. I follow a lot of SEC baseball. Love basketball too, but just we follow a lot of SEC baseball as well. Black Ice 4040 says, ain't nothing wrong with having a weapon as long as you are licensed. We'll talk about that in a minute. I mean, I know that there's going to be a lot of debate, but we got something else we need to talk about first. Last one before we get roll. Oh, top 9. UF only up by 1. Here we go. Keep us involved in that one if you don't mind. Daniel Williams says Polian is the first coach in football history to make the special teams coordinator position look difficult. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'm still old enough to remember when Coach McMahon had dudes running out there religiously missing extra points in his first year at LSU, right? So let's talk on Brian Polian. Let me say this. I don't think that there's another way to sugarcoat it other than LSU last season on special teams really struggled. From Florida State to you going to Georgia to Jack Besh having the ball hit off his head against Tennessee. Some of that is not his fault. Some of it is. You have to find the right pieces. You have to find the right players. And football is a three-toned sport. So many times when we talk in the offseason, we talk offense, defense, depth, and special teams. Special teams hardly ever gets brought up, and I understand why. But when you have a good special teams coordinator, you have a good kicker, a good punter, good things can happen. Ask Cade York when you're in the fog and you're going up against Florida and you beat the SEC East champion. And I will openly tell you, I had heard that through some people that there was really some tension maybe with Brian Polian and others inside that building, and they know that there was issues. I think Brian Kelly knows that there was issues and why Brian Polian is being moved from special teams coordinator to being pretty much what he will be as the assistant to the head coach, who will be a GM. And look, I think Brian Polian going to that spot and a non-biased opinion is a really good place for him. Brian Kelly really values the opinion of Brian Polian when it comes to evaluating talent, doing some things in national recruiting, and what he did in the transfer portal. I'm fine with that. In reference to him being your special teams coordinator, considering how LSU has done over the last couple of years at that position group or at that unit, it probably is a really good move. And look, we went all season talking about how bad Brian Polian had been, how bad special teams had been. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. I could make the argument, I think, that the game against Georgia is a lot closer than some believe if you don't have the block kick. If you can do some better things in special teams. I think Jay Bramlett was a good addition. He was able to get really good field position for you in many of spots. But, man, you just had so much dysfunction there. You probably should have beat Florida State if you can kick that extra point. I know that it's game 1, but that's such a crucial spot in the game where you just can't miss things like that. The football 9 times out of 10 is a game that's won and lost by inches. Literally won and lost by inches. You can't have a situation where you're losing in one phase of the game. You know, I went to a coach's clinic about 9 years ago, and the person that spoke, you won't like it, one of the guest speakers was Nick Saban. Every coach there, and I'm talking about every coach there, talked to Saban about offense, defense. Nobody brought up special teams. It was one coach who I don't even really remember his name, who I think had won like 21 state championships or something like that. And no, it's not in Louisiana. coach was actually from like Arkansas or Texas or something like that. And he raised his hand. He says, Coach, how involved are you in special teams? And he goes, that's the best question I've ever heard. All the time. And so now that you're transitioning to get Brian Polian out, you're getting somebody new in, who are you looking forward to? Now, LSU, for all intents and purposes, has gone pretty much this offseason unscathed. You're still not having Brian Polian plucked by another team. He's still going to be around. I know that he interviewed multiple times for the Grand Valley State head coaching job, which he couldn't get. And so now you're just having to move some other things. Maybe you're not done. Maybe there might be some other transitions that happen, but I don't think that they're going to be absolutely massive that stops what you're doing on the field. There is one guy, though. So about 3 weeks ago, this really started ramping up about Brian Polian. Actually, believe it or not, I posted a very long article on our message board, ayssnetwork.com, and in like 6 paragraphs, I put all the things that I'd been hearing that's going on with Brian Polian. If you haven't subscribed, you should do so. I'll get you the article if you want it really that bad. But about 6 paragraphs of things that I've been hearing about Brian Polian. That was about 3 weeks ago. Then late last week, we posted on the message board that there was a situation in a scenario where I'd heard he's already been moved. It's just got to be finalized. Nobody confirmed the finalization. So that is why we didn't report anything, but we had been talking about it religiously on the message board. The only thing for me is I think that there are guys better suited for that position group better than Brian Polian. And I hope as if that the new guy, since there maybe was some tensions that I'd been told in that locker room with Brian Polian, that you can bring a guy in that does not cause the same amount of issues that he did. Now, there is a guy in the SEC that's name has constantly come up. Now, let me give a disclaimer, right? Like, full disclaimer. I'm not reporting this. I'm not saying it's not a rumor. It's just something that some sources that have been really good for me in the past, and if you followed us for a while, have been really good in the past. But a guy in Ole Miss and their special teams coordinator, Marty Big, who has been around the block a while. He's been at Arkansas Pine Bluff, was a co-defensive coordinator, has actually been in Baton Rouge before. He was a Southern special teams coordinator and DB coach from 2012 to 2014. He's bounced around. And actually, what's crazy enough is in 2016, he was a special teams analyst for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. Would leave there, would go to North Texas, would be at North Texas for 3 seasons, would go to Purdue, and then ultimately this past season would be at Ole Miss. Ole Miss had a really good special teams unit, did a lot of good things. Their return game was really good. And now when you have a guy like Aaron Anderson that's probably going to return punts and kicks, and you have a guy that's shown that can be pretty productive in the return game, sign me up if he's the guy. Now, again, full disclaimer, if you're just joining us, I'm not reporting, not saying, not breaking any news, but his name constantly has come up. I will be honest. I had a Notre Dame media person actually reach out to me. No, not Brian Driscoll, but a Notre Dame media person reached out to me last Friday or Thursday and asked me about Big, and asked if he was going to go back with Brian Kelly, and that Brian Kelly he's doing what he normally does and hiring friends. That's a whole different thing that Brian Driscoll posted this morning, and me and him probably need to ultimately get into it about that. Not going down that rabbit hole right now, but he's in the SEC. Coaching in a lot of positions and a lot of times when you have really good coaches that have coached with you before, yes, you're going to go and pluck them, okay? If this guy's really good, if he's a good recruiter, he's coming to Mandeville a couple of times, he's coming to Louisiana a couple of times and pluck dudes, yeah, I mean, sign me up, okay? Sign me the F up if this guy can go out and recruit, can do some good things, and let special teams be better than what it ultimately was. You have a guy like Peyton Todd, who I thought would ultimately be your punter. What's going on with Peyton Todd, right? What's going on in the return game? I know Aaron Anderson is probably going to be that guy, but what if Aaron Anderson goes down? What if Aaron Anderson needs a breather? What if you're in a situation where, like he's got to take a play off, his helmet gets knocked, like something crazy? I think that Marty Biaggi has been in this situation enough before that he doesn't have other things on his plate and can just focus specifically on special teams. Now, Brian Polian, I would assume, is going to get the title of recruiting coordinator lifted off of him. So something that nobody's really talking about today when this news broke from Pete Thamel, he had that title of recruiting coordinator. There's only one person in that building. One person in that building that you need to give recruiting coordinator to. It's Frank Wilson. Okay. We cool there. We understand that. Like, his track record is immense on when he has that title, how good LSU does in recruiting. Give the title to Frank, shut the F up, and move on with your life. Give him the pay raise, do whatever you got to do. He's the best running back coach that probably LSU has had from a long, sustained and period of time. Okay. And he's obviously the best recruiting coordinator that we've had, probably outside of Orgeron. Okay. Frank probably already should have had that. Probably unwritten rules. I know that some coaches inside that building already went to Frank for things anyways. Give it to him. Give it to him. You'll be much better in recruiting if you give him that title. All right, let's get to a couple comments before we get into this Malik Nabors stuff. I see a lot of people commenting on it. Bill says, what are names that you're hearing, Blake? The only one that we're going to bring up tonight, Bill, is Marty Biaggi. Not to get confused, as Chance Babin asked, for Mr. Miyagi. But remember it like this. Notorious what? B.I.G. Marty B.I.G. That's how I remembered his name. It's a double O deal double G. Snoop Dogg. Pooh, why are you shaking your head backstage? I mean, can I bring some flavor into this? It's that motherfucking B.I.G. Snoop Dogg. That's how I remember it. That's how I remember it. Black Eye says, or let's just call it Pressure says, why would Nabors be kicked off? Bill, it's a simple misdemeanor. Bill asks, let me go to his question. He says, is Nabors going to be kicked off the team? No. Since everybody in the chat's talking about it, let's go here. Okay. Let's get this over with. Okay. Louisiana's an open carry state. Now, I do not know if he had it in an open carry position. Okay, so if you missed it today, let me backtrack. If you missed it today, it was reported that Malik Nabors, LSU's number one wide receiver, was arrested Monday night around 9 p.m. on a misdemeanors weapons charge. So, which means, from what I understand, that there was an issue that went down. Malik Nabors may or may not have been detained, and an incident due to arrest. So with an incident due to arrest, and some of you know my background, means when someone's detained, they're not arrested. But when you pat someone down for safety and you find something that is an incident to arrest, it seems as if that was the situation. He was released on his own recognizance. He was ROR'd is what they actually call it. So him being ROR'd out of OPP just shows how simple this is. Now, I think some people are overreacting to this. Okay. Some people are overreacting to what is going on. Now, somebody just sent me this. New Orleans police officers were on foot patrol in the quarter Around 7:30 p.m. on the day of Mardi Gras, noticed an L-shaped object that was in Nabors' front pant pocket. Police wrote the records filed in Orleans Parish Criminal District. The newspaper said officers, asked Nabors whether he had a permit or not, and when he told them he didn't, then they arrested him. So like we were just mentioning, incident to arrest. They observed an object. They're like, look, dude, give us the gun. We got to place you on arrest since you don't have a permit. But here's the interesting thing about that. The interesting thing about that is a city of New Orleans law. That is not a state law. John Bel Edwards passed a law in, I think, 2022 or 2021. I can't remember, that openly says that you can have an open carry. Now, now you do have to have a permit for a concealed carry. I understand that. But guys, I mean, with all due respect, and I mean this with all due respect, okay? I know what the officers wrote, okay? But you're detained first. Before you're arrested, you're detained. They don't know what the L-shaped object is in his pocket. Let me give an example. They can't go searching in his pocket before they detain him. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if he openly admits it, it is what it is, and good on him for admitting to police what he's got in his front pocket. Something that went really simple, that a lot of times in this country, it doesn't, I don't want to get political, white, black, indifferent. Sometimes when those encounters happen, they do not go over smoothly, okay? A lot of times. I'm glad that this one did. I've been in the world when someone has had a firearm on their person, and sometimes things do not go well. Truth be told, I understand probably where Malik Nabors is coming from. He broke a rule. He broke a law. He's going to probably have to pay a little bit of penance. Let him run. Let him just, run, do some disciplinary running. Tell him, listen, do not have a gun in your possession without a concealed carry permit. Okay? You move on from the incident. But I will tell you, okay? Alan Smith says open carry pass in 2016. Whenever John Bel Edwards, but he did something in 21. In 21, he did something with open carry as well. Because they ratified it. But regardless of getting into this political debate that everyone wants to have about open carry, I see police officers on our message board, and I see police officers, and they're right, and they're given right instruction. And I'm glad that they're doing that. But listen, what's the difference in what Denver Harris was not arrested for and reckless driving and almost hitting somebody versus having a gun in the quarter? I get it. People freak out around guns. People don't like them. I grew up in a situation where my dad and I, honestly, every weekend went hunting or fishing. And my dad, 9 times, if not 10 times out of 10, had a pistol on his hip, had a pistol in his glove box, had a pistol where, like, what do you call those little things, the little magnet things you see on TV now? He's always had a pistol. I grew up around guns. Have a gun right here in the studio, in my house, okay? I mean, it's just, it is what it is. I don't think that there's a big issue with owning weapons. That's just my take. Now, do you need to be in the French Quarter with one and not have legal paperwork? Probably not. But he's a kid. Calm down with it, man. Let due process play itself out. Guys, if any of you have been in the law enforcement realm, the simple fact that OPP ROR'd him showed how petty it was. What they should have done, let me tell you what they should have done. Now, I know that it is a Monday morning quarterback type of deal, okay? But formerly being in that world and still, having the legal background that I do, they should have probably confiscated the weapon and given him a summons. They probably shouldn't have arrested him and brought him to OPP. Just being honest. Write him a summons, give him a court date, confiscate the weapon, put it into evidence, lock it up, be on your merry fucking way. But Just saying, there are a lot of times when people don't have legal backgrounds. I don't know how many of you have legal backgrounds in here. Okay. But I'm just going to tell you, writing a simple summons is not that big of a deal. Literally, I know for a fact of a police officer here locally that literally probably for every misdemeanor case outside of like domestic abuse or anything like that will write a summons on everybody he comes encounter with. It's a misdemeanor, guys. It's a misdemeanor. It's funny because as some of you in here, I know for a fact, are going to be drinking and have been drinking this Mardi Gras season and have driven home. Okay? It just is what it is. Kelly says on YouTube, just hate how petty people are in this state. All of the stuff going on in New Orleans and they arrest him, make it make sense. Well, Kelly, he did break a law. I mean, let's not get that out of context here, okay? I agree with you. They shouldn't have brought him to OPP. And if you know anything about OPP, when historical prisoners go there and people that go there a lot, when they open the gates OPP, they say, OPP, yeah, you know me. Shows you my legal background. Shane says everyone should go watch Nick Saban's rant on Musan Muhammad, a young man making mistakes, not the exact same scenario, but every word he said applies to this situation. Yeah, his son played for him. His son played for him. I think Musan Muhammad, if I'm not mistaken, runs a Fortune or was started, runs, and owns a Fortune 500 company. Okay, Pooh just said that's DK. Okay. I was straight up in here, Pooh, calling this man Kelly. I didn't know that was his YouTube name. Wade McBride says, I think if it was not Mardi Gras, he would not have been arrested, but because of the time that he did. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But again, you could say that I'm Monday morning quarterbacking the situation. Probably I am. They will have body cam footage, confiscate the gun, put it into evidence, write him a summons, go on your merry way. But questioning an officer is not my line of work, okay? Anymore. Not anymore. There's so many different ways that this scenario could have gone out. Is he going to be suspended? I don't know. Brian Kelly said he was still trying to gather information. If the article is right, if the report is right from what is going on, guys, this is not a situation like you have in Brandon Miller. Okay? It's just not. If you missed the Brandon Miller from Alabama scenario and situation, I highly suggest that you go and look at what's going on there. Good googly moogly. Good googly moogly. Is that a big situation? But on the day that Brian Polian is going to step down, technically, and step away, you know, you have this news. It is what it is. I mean, if this is getting publicity, probably that it maybe shouldn't. Guys, him being this isn't going to go that far. This isn't going to go that far. He's going to hire him. He's already got an attorney. Sure, he'll be fine. One thing I know everybody was in here. Oh man, Paul's Hub Martin says that Vanderbilt came back. Or no, Central Arkansas upsets Vandy 5-4. How about that? Midweek games, man. Midweek games. We'll get to that after the next break. Let me just add a couple of add a couple of more notes here on Brian Polian in this situation. Listen, I don't mind him stepping down. I don't mind him moving to another position. There is one thing that's really interesting. One thing that's very, very interesting with this entire situation. Nick Saban hired Ken Wisenhunt about a week ago to be assistant to the head coach. Now, he's done this multiple times. He's done it with Butch Jones. He's done it with Ken Wisenhunt. Brian Polian's doing the same type of situation here. Okay? A lot of coaches, a lot of big-time coaches are kind of doing this. I've seen a couple of them make announcements, assistant to the head coach. Now, whether it be, will Brian Polian have a headset on? I don't think so. But he'll be pretty much the all-field assistant to the head coach role. Obviously, he'll be on the sidelines. And look, we're acting like Brian Polian isn't an asset. Like, use him as an asset. Like, he's watched a crap load of film. He's been around the team. Let him do what he's best at. Put him in his dad's role. His dad was a really damn good GM. He's been really good at evaluating talent at not just LSU, but Notre Dame. I think it's fine. But bring somebody in who can do it. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We're going to transition into some LSU baseball. Their victory today over Southern. We're going to go around your SEC. We've already been talking about some teams that have been upset. Mississippi State goes down to ULM. Central Arkansas upsets Vandy. We'll keep some scores there. I don't know what the Florida score is at the current moment. I'll try to get that for you out of the break. We'll talk baseball, go around the SEC, and then we'll do some questions at the end. Hashtag Ask Blake. Let's talk about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm. Kind of fitting based off what we were just talking about. DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com. Back in 45 seconds.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
Pooh Bear said Florida is busting it wide open. That's what she said. Busting it wide open. Chance Babin says, did you discuss the Trey Morgan hitting for the cycle? I have not. I did mention it to start the show that he hit the cycle. Look, oh, by the way, everybody do us a favor. Stop what you're doing right now. Everybody do us a favor and hit the like and share. LSU came out today a little sluggish. Thatcher Hurd came out in the first inning, had a fly out to left field, then gave out back-to-back walks, and then had back-to-back Ks. Lineup kind of struggled for the first couple of innings as well. Dylan Cruz might lead the country in getting hit by pitches. I'll have to look into that. But nevertheless, they kind of struggled to start off. It wasn't until midway through the game that they, as Pooh Bear just said, busted it wide open. Thatcher Hurd then would come in the top of two. He would give a walk. He would have a K. Then there was an oppo single to left. Then there was a line out to left. The runner advanced to third and tagged, and then got to third, and then ultimately would tag up and score. Gave up a single to left. Then it was then he finally got a unassisted play from Trey Morgan, and then he got to the third. 5 straight batters came up. A flare in the center, a single up the middle, a single in the right, and then a line drive up the middle that scored runs. Then Christian Little came in. I will be honest, I did not see that coming, but I got to give a tip of the cap to Southern. Came in today, swung the bat really well. But when Christian Little came in back-to-back appearances that he's had, he's done extremely, extremely well. Christian Little would come in the third. Now, he gave up a ground ball that would score a couple of runs, but then he would have a fly out to Dugas. He would get a grounder to Jordan Thompson, who had an absolutely fantastic play, and then he would never, ever turn back. In the top of the fourth, he would get a K to start off the inning. Then he would hit a batter. Then Neal would throw that batter out trying to steal. And then he would have another strikeout as well. And he continued to deal throughout that game. And the top of the fifth had a K. Then he had a walk and 4 pitch that got thrown out. And then there was a hitter interference. He did extremely, extremely well. I think that, though, the big thing that will be talked about is how LSU did at the plate. They had a couple of little soft little hits. They'd been hitting. That's the craziest thing about baseball, man. If you go through innings 1 through 3, LSU was hitting the ball on a rope. Ben Neapolt hit a couple of balls today that were on a rope. A couple of guys, I think, what was it? Gavin Dugas hit a shot to third, really hard grounder. That was a really good backhand. There was a double play. Then it came Josh Pearson hit a little flare. Then Dalen Cruz got hit by a pitch. Then Gavin Dugas hit a little flare, and then they didn't look back. By the way, I don't know of a ball that I've seen get hit harder than what Jared Bear Jones hit today. 467 feet. 107 miles off the bat. Wowzers. Wow. That is absolutely and utterly insane. So the LSU Tigers would beat the Southern Jaguars 18-4, led by, and ultimately something that you probably, what's crazy is if you live for another 75 years, if technology gets so much better and medicine gets so much better, maybe you could live for 75 more years. And the likelihood that you see someone hit for the cycle, which, by the way, per Chris Blair, it's only happened like 17 times in Major League Baseball. 17 times in Major League Baseball. That's his stat. I didn't look that up. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe he's right. I don't know. But he did it in an order. And Trey knew when he came up for that last at bat in the 7th that he had to go yah-yah to complete it. Single, double, the triple was what a hell of a hit that he had to the opposite field. What's crazy is that he went 0 for 8. 0 for 8 this past weekend and then had 4 hits today versus Southern. Looked at very impressive. You might not ever see that again, man. Going absolutely bananas at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. Wow. This lineup is absolutely insane. What's crazy is, the 5th is where they really talking about busting something wide open. Is Thompson would double the left. Neapolt would fly out to center field. Deep ball in the right center that got tracked down and caught. Eventually, as the weather heats up, those balls are going to start getting out, and those balls are going to start dropping. No, balls. Those balls will start dropping for Ben Neapolt, but he's hitting the ball really, really hard. Today he had 2 at-bats, if I'm not mistaken, where the velocity of the ball off the bat was over 100. It just so happened to go to somebody. But he had a deep fly into center. Pearson would strike out, and 2 outs. This is how it went in the top of the 5th. Cruz got hit by a pitch, stole the base. Joe Bear walked, Joe Bomb is what we probably should call him, who had his first home run today. In the 3-hole looked really good. Had a walk. Dugas got hit by a pitch. Morgan would triple into left center with the 3 RBIs, and then line drive up the middle by Bear Jones. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th inning that the LSU just really did exactly what they needed to do. And a lot of people, what's really crazy about baseball, and we go on this rant all the time. Guys, you got to be okay with there being a letdown early in the season. A lot of people, even though they scored a lot of runs this past weekend, a lot of people were let down by what LSU and how LSU looked like at the plate. Now, you got a massive weekend, Kansas State, Iowa, and Sam Houston. Then you go to Texas. But look what's going on in the midweek right now. You got ULM beating Mississippi State 11-4. You got Vandy getting beat by Central Arkansas. Like, these things are it just happens in baseball, man. It just happens, especially early in the year. Good teams, though, really good teams find ways to win. Arkansas came back and won. Oklahoma State threw a no-hitter today with 5 pitchers. It is what it is. I think LSU is going to be fine. I hope that they sweep this weekend. I hope they go to Austin and smack the absolute dog cheeks or cow cheeks or longhorn cheeks out of Texas, and you continue to roll. I hope they don't lose any game. Likelihood of that happening is not very high. They're not going 56-0. Okay? They're going to lose a midweek game probably. All right? That's not to say, though, that midweek games don't matter. Guys, every game matters. To the people who say that midweek games don't matter, have never been injured in a game and never played the game that they love ever again. Never. Guys, if I could get this fat ham hawk of a knee up here, I'd show you my scar. You got to play every game like it's the last because, guys, it ultimately might be. It ultimately might be. But on a Tuesday, went absolutely crazy. Jacob Wiggins says you could pucker up and kiss that baby goodbye. Uh-oh, look at Carl Dunn in the building. Carl the cat says it's been nice having under 3 or 3-hour games, but don't like all the new inning timing rules. Let's talk about that for a minute. I don't want to go on a massive rant. It's so stupid. Look, Southern kind of got hosed today. Let's call it what it is. The balls that they kept giving LSU batters, guys, this shot clock scenario is so stupid. I get it's helping speed up the game. Do something else. Give them massive amounts of warnings. Give them 2 warnings before you got to do it. Then there was a pickoff play at first. He gets the ball back. He stands on the rubber. Then they call a ball. I mean, and then that's how Joe Bear got walked in the 5th. Joe Bear got walked in the 5th because it was a 3-1 count, and there's a scenario where you have a ball being called because he didn't do it before the clock goes out. I know that everybody plays by the same rules, but man, come on. I do like that they're not over 3 hours. I get that, but man, come on. Steve Young says, if you carry open, you risk others taking your gun from your open carry holster. He didn't have a holster. And using it concealed is much safer. True. Very true. Stephen Young also said Diamond hit one in 2017 that was 485 feet. I don't remember that one. You're probably right. I don't remember it. Bradley Rice says Lamar is 3 hours away from being Texas A&M. There you go again, man. Again. You know, you freak out about this kind of stuff, but then you got A&M 3 outs away from losing to my buddy Will, who's the head coach of Lamar. Him and his wife Danielle out there in Lamar just doing shit. Is he at Lamar? I think he's at Lamar. Josh Forbes says, shout out to Max Duggan for winning the Davey O'Brien Award. That's random. I thought he already won the Davey O'Brien. Am I going crazy here? I thought he won the Davey O'Brien award in like December. Josh, were you in a coma and just woke up, or I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Chad Michael, this is a good comparison. I heard Jay Johnson make this comparison a couple weeks ago. He says Jared Jones looks like a young Mark McGuire. Dude's going to be a good problem. True. Paul Sub says Steven is right. That home run came against Hofstra. Dude, I think we're just both of our podcasters going to hire Paul Sub Martin for fact checking. I think we need to hire him. Pay him a Subway sandwich a month. Give him a premium subscription to Pornhub. How would you like that, Paul Sub? Oh, I didn't see this. Congrats to Lindsey Scott, says Pooh Bear, for being the number 2 pick in the USFL. I did not see that. I did not see that. Jason Tabor says, how scary is he going to be in the lineup with a healthy Tommy White? Very scary. I think he's going to play this weekend. Bill says, what's going on with Brandon Miller and Nate Oates? All right, so we can talk about that right very quickly. Look, this has like been a legal class to some extent. Let me also preface again, I am not an attorney. I do have a legal background. Let's just talk about Brandon Miller. I'm not going to make an assumption on something that I don't ultimately know. Okay. I do, however, don't like when I see it. So there's 3 pet peeves of mine when it comes to court cases and legalities. Here's my 3 pet peeves. Listen to me really closely. Before you leave, listen to me very closely. This will apply to you. Number 1, I absolutely hate when a rookie police officer responds to a wreck and when they get to the wreck, especially if it's a high trafficked area, don't get the vehicles out of the way if everybody is safe. Meaning, if there's just maybe a little fender bender and everybody's okay and the vehicle can be moved, get the vehicle out of the road so people in a high traffic area can get by. Okay, that's number 1. Rookie cops, learn your lesson. Number 2, okay, I hate when police officers, or pet peeve, I shouldn't say hate, a pet peeve, when police officers are running code 1, which means no lights, no sirens, and then act as if they're not running code and do. If you're a police officer, you know what that means. Just turn on your freaking lights and sirens. If you want to run code 3, run code 3. Here's my biggest pet peeve, without a question of a doubt. Today, the detective that is investigating the case of the former Alabama basketball player and now Brandon Miller being involved testified today, okay? And I'm somewhat paraphrasing, somewhat not, said that he believed that he had substantial evidence that Brandon Miller was contacted and was on scene when the shots went out. Let me just tell you something. And he kept saying this word, believe. I believe we can make. Without a shadow of a doubt. I don't want you to tell me I believe, I think, none of that. I don't want to hear that in court. If you cannot make you're there to make claim on things without a shadow of a doubt. Okay. There's your legal, what do you want to call it? There's your legal class for the day. I don't want to continue to hear, I believe. I need facts. I need outright facts. Now, Penn Jones asks, is your legal background doing illegal stuff? No, it's kind of, no. No. Let me just say this. Though, in the incident of Brandon Miller, if this does come to be true, okay, I don't know how you deal with it. Because technically, do you arrest him for accessory to murder? Again, it is what it is. Now him being involved in a murder case and in Alabama, what do? It doesn't look good for him. It just does not look good for Brandon Miller in any way that you put it. Okay? However, are you going to, this is a problem that I have right now with the Tuscaloosa Police Department. If you're going to go in court and say you believe that you have a determination that he was on scene and aided in a murder, then arrest him. Arrest him. If you're going to go in court under testimony, under oath, and say that you believe and that you can make a strong case on it, then arrest him. Don't pussyfoot around the situation. But since you don't have substantial evidence, what it would seem like, and since you don't have, and this is what the ultimate thing comes down to, since you don't have probable cause yet, you can't make an arrest without probable cause. Newsflash. Stephen Young says if it's in court, it better be under oath. He is under oath, but the way, Stephen, that this detective is getting out of this is saying, I believe, achieve, whatever. I believe that I'm the sexiest man alive. Is that true? Hell no. Dan says, ask Blake, did you see there's a kid about to break Pistol Pete's scoring record? I did see that. I don't remember his name, though. It's in jeopardy. Alan Smith says, if you want to open carry safely, use a retention holster. Daniel says, hell nah. Hell nah what? Here we go. Here comes the devil's advocate. Daniel, you need to quit your day job and start a publication that call it Devil's Advocate. Call it Devil's Advocate. Texas A&M just lost to Lamar. There you go, man. There you go. There you go. See, that's multiple SEC teams falling to the Southland Conference. Oh. Daniel, I am. Can I make a joke? See, you can't even make jokes anymore without people. I was about to say, just make a simple joke, but I'm like, I can't do that. Penn Jones says, in Louisiana, the law used to be if you're running code 3 and you got in a wreck, you're automatically at fault. Don't know if that changed in the late 90s. I don't think that. Well, it is your fault if it is like the wreck is your fault. You know, like if somebody hits you, whatever. But you gotta have probable cause. All right. We an hour in yet? Yeah. 59 minutes and 20 seconds. Good show. Really good show. Paul Sub says, make it a Firehouse sub and a case of beer. Listen, if you want to come a part of AYS, I have legal binding contract deal. I will buy you a Firehouse sub and a case of beer every day, every month. Pooh, hold on. Pooh, do you want an LSU historian on the Golden Boot Pod HBCU hour? And all we got to do is pay for him to have a Firehouse sub and a case of beer. I think that we win here.
Yeah, there won't be much LSU history on the HBCU hour, though.
Well, I mean, hey, look, man, you don't ever know what the Paul Sub knows.
So we do have like 2 challenges for Paul's Hub. It's a guy named Chuck that comes on every not just our show. He's like every show, and every guest he brings on, he's like, oh, hey, such and such, and everybody knows him. And then Julian from Twitter Spaces. So Paul's Hub has some stiff competition. He might want to negotiate. He might be down to a 6-inch.
Do you just think of these things in your mind that quickly to get me to overreact about you saying he's down to 6 inches?
Yes.
Get out of here, man. Get out of here, man. All right, it's Pooh Bear. Or Shane says, or he's up to 6 inches. God damn it. Good way to this old vet says Blake likes that word stiff. Oh Lord. All right, last one. We're out of here. Darren says, Blake, did you do any looking at Iowa's pitching? Yeah, they got a stud. I think he went like he had a ridiculous weekend. All right, I'm going to react to this. Daniel Williams said Blake is a Kenkel model. Daniel, at least I can do this and not have a receding hairline with your Peyton Manning-sized forehead. Your forehead is so big that they put the United States map on it. Your forehead is so big that they literally put the entire state of Alaska on it. Daniel, your forehead is so big it can cover a universe. Daniel, your forehead is so big that the Nutty Professor uses it as a blanket. Daniel, your forehead is so... Daniel, who are you talking about? You built like a woman. You're like, you built like a woman. You know, your face is like thin, and then you're big all around everywhere else, Pauls. Who are you talking to like that? I'm a gangster in these streets. All right, we're out of here. See y'all tomorrow. Peace out, Girl Scouts.